Madam President, I rise today to talk about an issue that affects every American community. Although it's hard to imagine right now, some of the people we serve fear for their own lives, not because of a terrorist attack or a natural disaster. They're afraid that somebody who is supposed to love them or support them will hurt or even kill them. Madam President, this is an upsetting issue, but one that we need to face head-on, and I'm glad we're addressing it today. Domestic violence and sexual assault are harsh realities. They know no class, race, or economic limitations. Although we've made good progress curbing domestic and sexual violence over the past decade, we still have a lot of work to do. The legislation before us takes another step toward our goal of ending domestic and sexual violence. It might not go far enough for some, but Madam President, it is progress, and I am proud to support it. Over the years, the Violence Against Women Act has helped reduce the rates of domestic and dating violence, sexual assault, and stalking. But the numbers are still stunning. Madam President, this bill gives us an opportunity to help victims get out of a dangerous situation. We have an obligation to pass this reauthorization of the Violence Against Women Act. Unfortunately, Montana is no different from the rest of the nation. There were almost 5,000 cases of domestic violence or sexual assault in 2011. 10% of them are on Montana kids. Federal funding is crucial for Montana's shelters, crisis lines, mental health services, and victim advocates. The domestic and sexual violence programs in Montana rely heavily on Violence Against Women Act funding to keep women and children safe and to administer the important programs that we have operating in Montana. It will also promote changes in the culture of law enforcement, pushing governments and courts to treat violence against women and children as a serious violation of criminal law and to hold the offenders accountable. The Violence Against Women Act helped a constituent of mine in Billings rebuild her life after she was the victim of domestic violence. Maria Martin was beaten by her boyfriend. He threatened to kill her and her 3 daughters. Her cries for help were answered by the police, who rescued Maria from a violent attack. But it is the program supported by the Violence Against Women Act that helped Maria rebuild her life. The Violence Against Women Act provides funding to strengthen law enforcement, prosecution, and victim services. Each community has flexibility to use these funds in ways that respond to folks most in need and take into account the unique cultural and geographical factors. This is especially important for a rural state like Montana. I am proud of my work with the Judiciary Committee to ensure that the set-aside of funding for sexual assault services does not disadvantage service providers in Montana, who often offer many services in one place. I want to thank Chairman Leahy for his efforts to address this important issue. For states and cities with specialized programs, this wasn't a big concern. In Montana and other rural states, we have county and regional service coalitions. That means funds must be flexible enough so that we can serve everyone who walks in. If rural areas had to carve out funds for each type of service, people wouldn't get what they need to regain their footing. The next closest facility might be 90 miles away. That's not a referral. It's not help. It is another obstacle for folks who are already facing a life-threatening situation. Domestic violence crimes also take a heavy toll on those who survive this violence. The vast majority of survivors report lingering effects such as post-traumatic stress disorder, serious injury directly from the abuse, missing school or work, higher frequencies of headaches, chronic pain, and poor physical and mental health. And while domestic violence affects every community, every race, and every rung of the economic ladder, the problem is even more severe in Montana's Indian country. In fact, violence against Native American women and children is at epidemic level. As Montana's only member of the Senate's Indian Affairs Committee, I've had several hearings on domestic and sexual violence. American Indian women suffer from violent crime at a rate 3.5 times greater than the national average. Nearly 40% of all Native American women will experience domestic violence. 1 in 3 will be sexually assaulted in her lifetime. Murder is the 3rd leading cause of death among Indian women. In response to our hearing, I was proud to join Chairman Akaka and many others on the committee in introducing the Stand Against Violence and Empower Native Women, Save Native Women Act. which is now included in the bill before us today. We owe it to the women and children of Montana to intervene, to provide resources to the programs which are on the ground, and to providers who are in the trenches. They offer safe havens, support, and educational services to help survivors of sexual or domestic violence break free of the cycle of violence. They help children who have lived with violence understand and make sense of what has happened so that they are less likely to get entangled into future abusive relationships. They help survivors gain the strength and the know-how to advocate for themselves in the legal system and in their relationships. By passing this bill now, we will continue to make progress toward empowering communities to protect all citizens, particularly the most vulnerable, women and children. As I stated before, Madam President, this is not just an opportunity. This is an obligation that we have to improve our communities.